In the previous video, we mainly talked about PSG and how they operate as a team, their position tactics, Vitinha, Dembele, and also how they find their way to Kylian Mbappe. But this video is going to be about why it should not be hard for Barcelona to beat PSG. And there's one simple reason for that. We're going to discuss all of that in this video. But as always, before we get into all of that, please do subscribe to the channel. It's going to help us a lot to get the family to grow even bigger. Thank you for your undying support, not only being a fan of this channel, but also the club. So let's get right into it. I think the key in this game, like the biggest difference or the difference maker in this game, is going to be who controls the midfield better, or who control the overall game better, you know. And because PSG and Barcelona are really very similar in terms of approach and tactics. So because of Luis Enrique and Xavi being Barcelona managers, and you saw that in the first or previous video. So who's going to have the better midfield in this game? That's going to be the biggest question. And I think the biggest thing here we have to consider as Barca fans is that Xavi will definitely try to overload the midfield. Is that going to be Gundogan and then Fermin and Joao Felix, where Joao Cancelo goes forward? But I think we shouldn't make the mistake here of having Gundogan deep and Fermin only be like the only number 10. I think it should be opposite. I think we should rather use the inverted fullback, because I can guarantee you, just like PSG is going to use maybe Ousmane Dembele to come as a false nine to overload the midfield, Xavi is going to want to have this box. The reason why I want Gundogan and Fermin to be up top is because of the runs that they make in behind of the defense. And you saw where the last few games, the ratings that the PSG centre backs and fullbacks had, and they're going to be without Hakimi. I've learned from you, one of you guys told me that Hakim is not going to be available, and if that's the case, we really should be having Gundogan up high. If Frenkie de Jong can play, even better, right? So controlling the midfield is going to be key in this game, really, because the only thing really PSG has is Vitinha and Kylian Mbappe, right? So the midfield battle is what's going to win this game. Who can overload the midfield and who's going to be better, you know? And PSG, let's be honest, they only have Mbappe and Dembele, or the wingers, right? So if we control the midfield, it's going to be very difficult for them to be able to find those guys, because PSG only comes alive once those two has the ball, really. So that's going to be key. Midfield, number one. Whoever controls the midfield and who takes their chances, of course, will win this game definitely. Now, you might be thinking, what do I mean with variety and build-up? What I mean by this is you need to be able to adapt to what the opponent is doing. For an example, let's say PSG decides to press high. Why would you want to still press through that or play through that pressure? You know, have variety. For an example, you've seen this in the Atletico video that I made, how Ter Stegen was able to find these guys up top and put Barcelona in better situations. And the reason why I'm saying that is why we should have variety is because once you put yourself under pressure trying to play through, that can kill teams. That can kill, especially Barcelona. If teams do have a good time pressing against us, we tend to crumble. And you cannot do this against a team like PSG, especially with Mbappe. This guy is deadly. So why on earth would you want to invite all of this pressure onto you? Have variety, you know, kick long. And Ter Stegen is excellent. We know this guy. So that's just a short thing that I wanted to mention. Have variety in attack, have variety in build-up, especially if you're under pressure, kick long. That's easy to understand, you know. So yeah, I suggest Barcelona should really have some variety. I know I'm kind of going back on my word, you know, trying to say we should have a double pivot, but all this time I've been advising against a double pivot. But I think now that we have Kubarsi who can do line breaking passes, I don't mind that double pivot. And if PSG is going to press high, they probably will sit on the center backs while they will be marking our deep lying player. And I think at the same time it's going to be easy for Gundogan just to come in there, or Frenkie. Like I said, I prefer Gundogan to be up top, but in this case we're going to outnumber them. Here's the deal. In order for them to make this whole press thing available, they're going to have to commit players up top. And this is where the long kicking of Ter Stegen is going to come in. Now you're going to have 2-on-1 situations, all right? And now you're going to have triangles. And this is why that pivot is going to be important if we want to play the variety game with PSG. So they're either going to have to decide, are we going to press Barca high, or are we going to press Barca in a low block, right? And both ways really are going to benefit us if we do implement this double pivot, you know. And this is key. I really started noticing that the pivot only works when you have great centre backs that can play the long ball, that can do the line breaking passes. So the double pivot in this case is going to be very important, especially when PSG wants to press high. And then we can make use of the long kicking of the Stegen and the line breaking passes of Pau Kubarsi. So we're going to need a double pivot in case PSG press high. You know, I honestly don't doubt Barcelona's possession capabilities in this game because I know we can tear them apart completely, dominate them on every position because we overall have a better squad than PSG. They only have Mbappe, really, that's a superstar that can change the game on his own. It is actually the defensive capabilities that I'm a little bit worried about, and I don't think pressing high is going to work in this instance. I touched on this in the previous video. So I don't think we should either play a high block, press high, or press in a mid block or sit in a mid block. I think it should be mid to high. And the reason I'm suggesting that is, yes, you don't want to open yourself up by pressing high, but at the same time, you need to be able to still pin down some of the players, right? Especially their midfielders. And you can only do that in a mid to high block, right? Like I said, have Lewandowski sit on these guys, but at the same time, still only have the center backs open. Then you can really have, you can at the same time have covered on you have covered yourself on the wings, you know, defending their wings and this side as well. And you have the midfield, you have them clocked down. So I don't think Barcelona should sit in a mid block. I think it should be mid to high, you know, in between those two. You don't press high, but you also not sitting in a mid block because some of those players still has to be cut down. That will basically force the centre backs then to go long, and we trust Araujo and Kubarsi to win the ball for us, you know. And the gegenpressing, oh my goodness, I don't even want to talk about the gegenpressing, especially when we lose the ball. Remember, if we're going to control the game, that's going to force PSG to play on the transition. So we're going to kind of be like opening ourselves up to that kind of attack, and PSG is deadly in that, like you know, Mbappe, right? In the speed and with Dembele that they have. So mid to high block, let them play long, and then we can have them again. So when they play long and we win the ball again, we are in the half yet again. So that is what I want to see. But I don't want to see this high line that Barcelona has. Honestly, I don't want to see, if we are in a low block or mid block, I don't want to see the high line because, like I said, Ter Stegen still doesn't play with me like a sweeper keeper. So defensively, I would suggest a mid to high block. Like I said, it shouldn't be hard for Barcelona to beat PSG. I don't see them as those kind of teams that can hit you on all fronts. You know, mainly everything comes from Kylian Mbappe, and I think that is pretty obvious for everybody to know. But at the end of the day, we shouldn't underestimate them either. But if we can control the game in the midfield, like I said, that is where the game will be lost and won. We shouldn't have no problem beating this PSG team. And don't forget, they themselves are still in the building process. They don't have nearly as good quality across the board like we do. So yeah, it shouldn't be that difficult to beat them. But as always, guys, please do subscribe to the channel. I would love to hear what you guys think, and also to talk about the tactical review. Thank you very much for watching this video. Goodbye.